Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I got this 2015 Dodge Journey. I have the other video that should be up shortly. You may see it before, you may see it after this one. I don't know yet. Anyway, I fixed the coolant thermostat housing and I replaced the heater hoses that go back to the heater core and then for the rear heat. They were leaking. The whole thing was leaking, so I fixed all of that. The other issue is the customer asked me if I could change the catalytic converter. So I said, usually in a situation like that, I put the O2 sensors in it first. I don't just replace the catalytic converter. If you're going to replace the catalytic converter, put O2 sensors in it. You have a brand new cat. If you got a screwed up upstream O2 sensor, that's going to mess up your converter. Put in O2 sensors in it. Do it first. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. Putting in just a one O2 or putting in the two O2 sensors will fix the cat efficiency code. Why not do that first? You're going to replace them anyway. You're talking what? 180 bucks for two O2 sensors? You know, you're talking anywhere from $500 to $1,500 for a catalytic converter. You're going to put these in anyway. Why not change them first? Happened on one of my own cars. So anyway, let me show you what I got here. So down here, here's the engine bay, 2.4 liter. And like I said, I changed that housing right here. Actually relatively, not a relatively easy job, but not a bad job. A little tight, not bad. But if you look down there, you can see the downstream O2 is like dead set in the center, and then the upstream is up there just before the cat. So we're going to replace both of those first before we go any further. So let me go dig out my trusty O2 sensor sockets. You don't need an O2 sensor socket if you're taking them out and replacing them, because you can always cut the wire off. I prefer not to if I can all avoid it, because let's say I'm replacing an O2 sensor for whatever reason. I like to hold on to the other one at first. I've had it to where I've replaced the O2 sensor, or I go to replace the O2 sensor, and I realize I have the wrong one, or something's wrong with the one that's in the thing, and I can't stick it back in the hole for whatever reason, or it doesn't plug in, or anything like that, and I got to put the original one back in. Well, if you cut the wires, now you can't. So, or you can, you're not going to have any O2 readings, and that'll really skew how the car runs. So, let me go find the O2 sensor sockets, and let's go from there. Now I have a kit for O2 sensor sockets that I think is in my storage unit. For when I was moving, I had stuck everything, like extra tools and stuff in there. I thought ahead, so I brought these from work just in case. These are the ones I keep in my toolbox. But the other set that I have, I'd gotten off of Amazon a while back. I'll find a link and I'll put it in the description. But now an O2 sensor socket, there's a couple different styles. You have this style, crow's foot. This works good. The problem is it's thick, so sometimes if you have like an O2 that's like recessed in a tube or something like that, which happens often, you can't get them out with this. You need this style. It's like a deeper well. And the only problem with these type of sockets is they have a tendency to spread, especially if the O2 is like super tight. There's a video out there where a guy says, I think the title is "Removing a Stuck O2 with a Hose Clamp." All he's doing is he's taking a hose clamp and he's sticking it over the end of this to complete the circle, basically, to keep this thing from spreading open. Because basically what happens is, like I said, this end will start to spread open, but the hose clamp on there, it's got high tensile strength, so it keeps that closed so it gets a better grip. That's what he's doing. And good for him. I mean, he showed that in a video and he had a big hit with it. Anything that's a crow's foot can do that. Open-end wrenches can do that. They can actually spread open. I've seen it happen. I've done it myself. So let's get this cover off and let's get these O2s out. Now with the cover off, get a pretty good view of the O2 sensors themselves. So basically you got to follow the harness back and basically just disconnect it wherever it attaches, which this one is right here. I think at some point this O2 has been changed, but this car's got over 200,000 miles on it, so it's not uncommon. A little bit of coolant that's been hanging out down there from when I changed everything. But yeah, let's get these disconnected and let's see if we can't get them out of there. So with the wire disconnected, and I got the socket on there, I got my ratchet on there too. Let's see if we can't break this thing free. Oh yeah, it came right free. 9 times out of 10, once you crack an O2 free, it usually comes free. Not all the time, especially in northern vehicles. So let's get this one changed out, and let's get this one out, and then we're going to get the other one out. I don't think I even have to crawl underneath it. I might be able to just get everything from up top here, although leaning over this thing's kind of a pain. One thing with this vehicle, both O2s are the same, upstream and downstream. So there's no difference there, which is good. Because sometimes you do have differences, and it's like, unless they tell you, if you bought all 4 O2s, like you could have a different left and right upstreams, and you can have a different left and right downstream, so you wind up with 4 different O2 sensors, and it's just like, which one's which? Because they look so darn close. So usually it's just in the connector, that's in the wiring length. That's usually the only difference. Most O2s are all the same. So neighborhood kids playing. So yeah, let's get the other one out now. Okay, with both O2s out, and like I said, both O2s are the same O2s. So one thing you got to be really, really mindful of, because I have run into this in the past, make sure you got the right O2 plugged into the right connector. I've seen that. I've seen where on a Jeep, somebody had to change the transmission, had to take the exhaust out, and they had actually mixed up left side and right side O2 sensors because they plug in at the top of the tranny right next to each other. Yeah, so make sure of what you're taking apart and where they go. You know, it's easy to make a mistake, and you make that mistake, it really can screw up how things run. Okay, let's say you disconnected those O2 sensors and you forgot which one went where. Let's say it was right next to each other and you forgot. Let's say you got a car in that was all apart and you didn't know which one went where, and it's the same connector. What do? All right, go grab your scanner, turn the key on, and look at O2 heater temp. So here, if you look, I don't know why the light keeps coming on. If you look at O2 heater temp, sorry, there we go. O2 heater temp 1 and O2 heater temp 2. Negative 83 degrees. All right, well, let's plug one in and let's see what happens. So leave this sitting right there. We'll come under the hood. Let me open up one of these packages. Hang on 1 second. So now with that one O2 sensor plugged in and just hanging out there, come back over to your scanner. And I had shut the key off. I forgot to show you that, but I shut the key off. Sorry for the glare. The glare is terrible out here. Go in here. So now I'm just going to turn the key back on. Get it to the run position. And there you see, because it's actually turning on the heater for the O2 sensor. So that is bank 1 sensor 1, that connector there. So we know that that's going to be upstream O2, which is how it was plugged in to begin with, but now we've just confirmed it. So we're going to put that in place. If you can all avoid it, don't screw it in with the connector plugged in, because then you twist up the wiring. Not that it really affects anything, it just looks sloppy, to be honest with you. So I'm going to disconnect this. I'm going to put the downstream one in first, because that's the hardest one for me to get to, and then I'll put this one in. Okay, so there we go. We got everything in place. Let's get the cover on. Get this hooked up. This is not factory. Somebody had done this at some point. These it's got these, see that thing right there, that like ball that sticks up? That fits into like a cup. And there you go, right there, fits into a cup, and there's one there too that fits into a cup up inside there. You got to line all of those up, and then usually they just pop in place. That probably had one too that snapped off at some point in time. Somebody did that and added that long like extension there, which is actually a pretty neat idea. Kind of unnecessary, but kind of a neat idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to screw this down, and then I'm going to go get that other scanner that they had sent me, that more professional type scanner, because I've yet to use it, yet to see what's involved with it. So I want to get that, and actually mess around with it a little bit. Okay, and here it is, the latest and greatest from Kingbolon. Kingbolon and Launch, like I said, work together. I'm not quite sure how that situation is, but one seems to be mixed with the other. So anyway, this is what they just sent me. It's a brand new tool. I did open this up and I did set up my Wi-Fi and everything inside the house. Let's put this down here. But it comes in this nice heavy-duty case. And it's got a nice big screen on it. You have accessories here. You have a registration card, basically, because you got to register the product, which I've already done that. Excuse me. Okay, why is my... There we go. So, that... Let's see what all this stuff is. You have a user's manual, which I have not even looked at yet. I'm going to have to do that. You get a bunch of different ends, which here's the dongle that they give you with this one. This one is not a chargeable dongle, but this one plugs directly into OBD. Oh, these are for... Oh, cool. That's actually for OBD1 type vehicles. Like that's a Ford, that's a GM. I think that's a Nissan. I'm not positive. One's probably a Chrysler, but I'm not quite sure how they hook up. So I'll have to look all of that up to see. Oh, okay. They must hook up with this cable set up here. All right, interesting. Very cool. Let's see. Like I said, I didn't go through any of this. All I did was set this up for my internet, so that's why you see some fingerprints on it. You have charging cables here for like a cigarette lighter or for a battery. And then other style connectors here, I guess in case you have to run the thing away from where it is. Like maybe you can't get this in on some of them, so you got to run this style. I don't know. All right, and then this, we include this on all the other ones, including the Launch ones too. This is pretty interesting. This is different style connectors. Oh, that's a BMW, like for oil resets and stuff like that. Pretty cool. I thought this was for recharging. No, but I was wrong. I was wrong. That's not what this is. Now, this being Bluetooth, basically, it doesn't plug into the car directly, so that means it's not going to charge. Hang on a second, let me get this out of here. But as you can see, I got fingerprints all over it. But it's got a nice big case. You can hook a scope up to this. It has the ability to hook a scope up to this and read on this screen. So there we have one connector there. I don't know the USB names, so please forgive me, excuse me. USB-C, I know that's that one, but we're going to turn it on here. It has a film on the screen that I'm going to leave on it for now. So let that load up. And I did all its updates and everything else. I hooked up to my internet, and I basically went through all its updates, and I updated everything. This covers more cars you're ever going to work on. I think this probably covers everything that's out there. You know, a lot of, you got to remember, in the Asian countries, you know, China, Japan, stuff like that, you're going to have a ton of different vehicles that you'll never see here. In Germany and, you know, stuff like that, you're going to see cars you're never going to see here. It's all included in here. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to hook up to that Journey right here. This is the first time I'm ever using this, so be patient. So the little dongle goes up under the dash here where the connector is. The connector is right here. Okay, so see that? It lights up so you know it's connected. All right. Let's hop in the vehicle. Let's start said vehicle. Turn that light off. Hear that clicking noise? It's one of the doors is broken, probably the recirculate door. And as you see, the Bluetooth thing, the dongle turned bluish. So that means it's actually connected. Oops. I just hit this by mistake. That was my bad. Let's see. I'm going to do diagnose. Now, I like the fact that this screen is much bigger than the other scanners because my eyesight's not that great anymore. Please check if there's any okay, we're not worried about that. Now, some dongles, like from insurance companies or tracking devices that people will have on their cars, those dongles will have a separate connector so you can connect another OBD connector to it, you know, for like a scanner or whatever. That can have an effect. That can actually skew your readings. So if you're having stuff that you need to diagnose, you're probably better off disconnecting it and going straight into the car and ignoring that other thing. I think I showed you that when I had the contractor's truck. He was a landscaper. He had a landscaping company, and all his trucks had tracking devices on them. But it went through the OBD2 connector, and it would give me skewed readings. So I had, on this one truck, so I had to disconnect it because I didn't believe the stuff it was telling me, and sure enough, the readings were not coming out correctly. So, just something to consider. All right, Dodge Journey 2.4, everything there, blah, blah, okay. Okay, that's the Chrysler style. That is the Chrysler way of doing things. So let's do, I don't know, let's see what a smart scan is. Occupant restraint. Those usually mean it has codes, right? If I'm not mistaken. All right. So now you can hit clear DTCs and clear everything. But this is the topology that it would show on the Chrysler system directly, which I think is pretty cool. Okay. Diagnostic plan. Let's just see what does that tell us. All right. For the SRS, left side seat thorax squib circuit open, tire pressure failure, blah, 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 blah. Low voltage differential signal cable for integrated center stack, which is that assembly there. All right, not too concerned about any of that. All right, let's see. Now, how do we get into PCM? There's no DTCs. That's great. Okay, how do I get into it to actually diagnose it? ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, calibration. That is usually, ADAS is usually the, what do you call it, radar system for like automatic braking and keep maintaining your lane and lane control, stuff like that. So that's what ADAS is. But I'm going to see if I got to figure out how to, I don't know how to work this thing. I'm still learning. All right, so let's go to system list maybe. Let's enter the PCM. I'm not concerned about any of these codes. It's a nice scanner, I will say that. It tells you your voltage right there at all times, which is good. Let's just see what special function gives us. Cam crank relearn, check PCM with VIN number, clear learned, line pressure counter, emissions roll test, phaser cleaning, quick learn, that's for the transmissions, reset the oil change, check VIN. Okay, very cool. Yeah, it's got quite a bit in there. Now, I said this before. If a vehicle doesn't have something like, let's just say, I don't know, cam crank relearn, let's just say, but it comes up on the list. If the vehicle doesn't have it, it might come up on a list, but it can't do it. It's not because the scanner won't do it, it's because the vehicle won't allow it. The vehicle doesn't have that provision. So sometimes people will say, oh, well, you know, my scanner's a piece of junk. I can't get into this vehicle to read this information. Well, no, guess what? The vehicle doesn't give you that information. It's not there. So it's things you got to consider. But anyway, I just figured I'd remind you of that. All right, so let's go back to show menu. Let's see. Let's go to data stream. O1 goal or O2 goal for 1-1, and right. Let's see. No, actually not goal. 1, 2 volts. 1, 2. So like I said, bank 1 sensor 2, bank 1 sensor 1. It only has 2 sensors. All right. So I'm gonna go to OK. Let's go to graph. See, the downstream is actually following. It's actually following. Now before, when I had, it really shouldn't be following. That means the cat's really not doing what it's supposed to. Because that's upstream, that's downstream, and it's almost a mirror image. It's really not supposed to do that. Before, I had actually started to make a video earlier when I first got this thing, and the downstream sensor was reading all sorts of screwed up. At least now it's actually reading like it's supposed to. I'm going to take this thing for a romp down the street and actually get on it a few times. In case the cat is contaminated, it might actually help with allowing it to burn off, you know, through higher engine RPMs and stuff. So let me try that. Okay, so I pulled over after romping on it a little bit, but as you see, the upstream is going up and down. The downstream is actually doing what it's supposed to. So I think this thing just really needs to be driven. Like the O2s might have been screwed up, but now the cat's doing what it's supposed to. See that? Now that the cat's heated up, it's actually doing what it's supposed to. The video I started making beforehand showed that it would go up and then it would start to mimic the upstream, then it will go down and stay down. And then it will come back up, stay up. And so there was a problem with the O2. Now the cat is actually doing what it's supposed to. So I am happy with that. And there you go. As you can see, you see little blips when I hit bumps in the road, and so that affects my position on the throttle. But all in all, it holds pretty darn steady. So I am happy with that. That's a good reading. I'm good with that. So, you know, is it possible still has an issue with the cat? Absolutely. But before, it was almost mimicking the upstream. So, like I said, it would mimic it, and then it would get stuck high, then it would get stuck low, and it's not doing any of that now. And now back home and idling. It's actually holding the fuel pretty steady. I'm surprised. Usually you see more of a up down like that. Those. But the cat's right on the money right now. Little blips here and there. I'm good with that. All right, so yay, the thing I really like about this scanner so far, like I said, this is the first time I'm ever using it. Sorry about that. First time I'm ever using it. The thing I like about it so far is the screen. The screen is big enough, especially for me. Like the other scanners seem to be a little bit too small. I'm sure if I picked 4 things to look at data, I'd wind up with much smaller pieces, but this way comparing 2 is fine. And like I said, there's a lot of things you do with this. You can hook a scope up to this, and I'm assuming they sell that stuff. I don't know. I got to look into it. You can hook like a borescope, meaning with a camera. You can have that hooked to this. You can hook a printer up to this, which is really nice. You could send emails through this thing. You can surf the web with this thing. There's other things you could do with this too. Like I said, I'm just learning it. But so far, this is what I really like about it. And like I said, it's kind of in the beta stage. I think it's being released like right about now. They said that there's going to be an update for Chrysler Dodge, that was something that they were working on, because 2017 and newer Chrysler product, you have to subscribe to Chrysler in order to get their information. Yeah, it's kind of an odd situation, but that's what it is. It's not the scanner's fault, it's Chrysler that's doing that, or Stellantis, whatever you want to call that company now. But yeah, so I think we're good here. I think we're golden. And that's about it. So hopefully you got something out of that video. I know it's a little bit on the long side, but hopefully you got something out of that. All right, if you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. I'm going to put links down in the description if you want to just click on them. I'm not asking you to buy anything. Just give them a click. Clicks do help me. Anyway, that's about it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Keep wrenching.